There's a ton of news circulating right now about the real estate market, specifically what type of market we are seeing right now. In today's video, I want to break down exactly what does it mean to be in a seller's market, balanced market, or a buyer's market, because I've been seeing a lot of news articles that suggest we're in or are heading towards a buyer's market. This is the complete opposite market, a seller's market, which we've been in for the last 2 years. What are we in today and where are we going to be heading? My name's Caileigh and I sell real estate in the Langley and Fraser Valley area. Before I dive into this information that I hope you find to be very valuable, I will ask you to hit the like and subscribe buttons so I can get my content out to more people like you that want to be kept up to date with the local real estate market. So the three basic markets that we circulate through in the real estate world is a seller's market, a balanced market, and a buyer's market. But what classifies these markets and how do we measure them? Months of inventory is something I use all the time to find out and measure what type of market we're in. And it's a fancy way to measure the absorption rate. So looking at all MLS active listings, if nothing new came on the market, how many months would it take for that type of property in that type of neighborhood to completely sell out? Months of inventory measures how many active listings were left at the end of a given month, and of that same month, how many sold. We can apply this type of measuring tool to different property types such as detached, townhomes, and condos, and also look at the specific neighborhood that they're in to help give you the best understanding of what to expect if you are interested in getting into that property type or if you are looking at selling that property type. Anything that has a result of 0 to 3 months is a seller's market. So at this time, prices are generally rising and inventory levels are dropping. This is what we were seeing in the past 2 years. Anything resulting in 4 to 6 months indicates a balanced market. This is where prices are somewhat hovering and the amount of inventory is also hovering. You can also think of a balanced market as for every one home, there is one buyer. It's somewhat of a perfect market. It's where you can negotiate things, but also get a fair price for properties. And a buyer's market is anything showing 6+ months of inventory on the market. This is when inventory levels are rising and price points are falling. Now, this is what we have been told we're heading towards in the Fraser Valley and Metro Vancouver regions. However, I'm going to jump in and tell you exactly where each property type is sitting in both the Fraser Valley and Greater Vancouver areas. Diving into things, I just want to clarify the Fraser Valley consists of Langley, Abbotsford, Surrey, White Rock, North Delta, and Mission. And the Greater Vancouver area deals with everything else basically. So Burnaby, Coquitlam, Maple Ridge, New West. You guys can read everything there as we go along. So we just got the stats out for the whole month of May. So that's what this represents. Detached are sitting at 5.6 months of inventory in the Fraser Valley. And that is just bordering a buyer's market. So remember, anything 6 months or above is a buyer's market. I think they're going to get there in the summertime. So a lot of good opportunity for people that were maybe trying to get into the market but could not because of the competitiveness. Greater Vancouver, they're sitting at 2.8 months of inventory. So that's actually still in a seller's market, which I was kind of surprised to see the difference between the Fraser Valley and the Greater Vancouver when it comes to detached homes. Townhomes in the valley are sitting at 3.4 months of inventory. So we're just over that seller's market now, and we haven't been there for quite some time. That is indicating a balanced market. Greater Vancouver is still in a seller's market for townhomes. They're at 2.2 months of inventory. Condos in the Fraser Valley are sitting at 2.6 months of inventory. That's still a seller's market, and the same goes for Greater Vancouver at 2.9 months. So looking at this in general, it's interesting because the Fraser Valley did see the most volatile hike over the past 2 years because everyone was kind of moving out further away from the Vancouver core. So they're the ones that are seeing the effects first of the sort of shift in the market because they went up so fast, so quick, that now that we're kind of shifting into a more balanced to potentially a buyer's market down the road, they're the first to see the softening of that, whereas Greater Vancouver is still showing signs of a stronger market. And all three classes, detached, townhomes, and condos, are still in the seller's market category. I wanted to dive into Langley specifically. Detached 3.8 balance, townhomes 2.8, that's a seller's market still, and condos are coming in at 2.2. So condos are still selling the quickest. The absorption on that is still fairly quick. That's telling us that in 2.2 months, we would have 0 condos on the market if no new condos in the Fraser Valley came out. And it simply comes down to affordability. Condos are the most affordable, so they're still going to see that kind of uptick in sales. There's always going to be people that are trying to get into the housing market, and a condo is the first step for many people. And it also attracts the investor market as well, just because the detached and townhome price points have gotten so high. For some investors, buying a condo just makes the most sense. There's less of a down payment. The strata runs it, so you're not going to have items like plumbing, roof, and all that kind of stuff that has to be done out of 100% your pocket. And that's the way it usually works. The detached market feels the shift first, then it trickles down to the townhomes, and then condos at the end. I wanted to take this most recent last month's data and compare it to the absolute peak of the market, just to compare where the months of inventory are sitting to give us a better indication of where we're at today and where I think that we're going to be heading in the next few months. So when I pull up this past month's data, we can see that Fraser Valley detached and townhomes are the only ones that actually had a shift in the category class when we're looking at months of inventory. And that makes sense because those were the two asset classes that were going at the highest rate, up. And now they're going to be the first ones to kind of start to see the shift first. And when we look at the peak of the market here, you can see everything was majorly in the seller's market type. You can see Fraser Valley detached there was sitting at the highest at 2 months of inventory. Everything else was sitting under 2 months of inventory, which is a very intense seller's market. So yes, we are shifting away from that. I was surprised to see that everything other than 2 asset classes are still in a seller's market. Although I do think that that's going to be changing because the spread in the amount of inventory we're seeing and the reduction in the amount of sales we're seeing is going to definitely keep shifting towards a balanced market. Will we hit a buyer's market? I don't know, but it is leaning that way, especially when I look at Fraser Valley detached homes. At this time, when we look at active listings, which are properties available at any given time during the month, and compare that to the active listings of December, they have tripled. So we've just seen a constant incline in inventory being available since the beginning of this year. I expect that to be the case as we get into the summer months. Summer's usually generally a slow time. People are on vacation. They're not really thinking about real estate. That mixed in with the interest rate hike. We just saw yesterday the Bank of Canada announced that they increased the overnight lending rate by another 0.5%, pushing the total prime rate from 1 to 1.5. I do want to remind you that this is still 0.25% less than it was pre-pandemic. So pre-pandemic prime was sitting at 1.75, and today they're only at 1.5. There are great opportunities for people that are looking to invest or upsize because, like we talked about, the detached and townhome markets are the ones that are seeing the biggest shift. So if you're in a condo and you want to get into that townhome, I've seen townhome price points fall dramatically over the last few weeks, and they're gonna run into a time where you're going to get investors jumping in because now the numbers make sense and they can almost cover their costs, whereas before they couldn't. Vancouver rents have gone up 23% alone in the last year. I think that's because renters are just that further away from saving up for the down payment that they need just because price points have gone up so much. But if you're an investor, it's definitely worth looking at the numbers considering that rents have increased as much as they have over the past year. So there's only so low I think the market's going to fall until it just rebounds up again because so many people want to live here. It's the best part in Canada in my opinion, and because of that fact alone, I feel it's always going to be a strong market. However, right now there's no doubt that we're going into a dip, but I think that it's going to be a short-lived dip that will rebound in a few months when sellers realize that this is the reality of their sale prices and buyers get comfortable with that new rate. I hope you guys have found this information to be helpful. I think the key takeaway is please be careful what you read in the media because it's still overall a pretty good market. I mean, the only asset classes that aren't in a seller's market are the Fraser Valley detached homes and townhomes. Everything else is still in a seller's market. If you guys want a better idea of your specific property in your specific neighborhood, you can click the link below. I have a Calendly link where you can go in and schedule a buyer's consultation, a seller's consultation, or just talk about the real estate market in general. If you guys did enjoy this video, I really would appreciate if you hit that subscribe and hit that like button. It helps me get my content out to more people like you. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.